The Cleveland Browns are unfortunately in a very familiar position at the end of the season where they're picking inside the top five and specifically picking second overall in the 2025 NFL draft. My name's Tyler. Here's my brother Ryan, and we're going to quickly recap the Browns 2024 season, but start to look into the future on some potential things you should expect in the 2025 offseason. But before we do that, if you like the work that Ryan and I put out and you want to help the Tracy Take grow, the easiest way is hitting that subscribe button, tackling that bell, and leaving a like and a comment. Let us know what you want the Cleveland Browns to do in the 2025 offseason and in the 2025 NFL draft. And Ryan, with that being said, though, tough season overall for the Cleveland Browns. Every year it's always next year's our year, and then week one happens, and it's just a tough season overall. And to me, when I look at these stats, like offensively, it makes sense. Defensively, I think kind of better sums up how injured they were for a
Yeah.
majority of the year, just as a team as a whole, because obviously there's some serious injuries on the Cleveland Browns side, but this defense is better than what some of these rankings are when fully healthy. They'd been battling some injuries. Then it got to a point, then they traded off some guys like Sadarius Smith as well, who's having a great time in Detroit, exact opposite time in Detroit than what he was experiencing in Cleveland. But offensively, though, I mean, we talked about it. I just did my mock draft that's coming out also at the same day as this one as well. So go check that out. I need to beat Ryan in our overall mock draft views. But I mean, that Deshaun Watson trade has just like decimated this franchise.
Yeah.
And a franchise that was already pretty decimated, if we're
Well,
being honest.
it just took a lot of potential young contributors away from this team that they've had to supplement elsewhere. And then they also don't have the cap space anymore to go out and sign guys in free agency with the contract that they gave them. And so that just makes it a really tough situation for the Browns as a whole, because now you're kind of tethered to this guy for another 2 years money wise. Well, actually, they just extended the cap so they can spread it out over more years. But so I don't know if it's like 3 or 4 years now instead of two, but like you're tethered to this bad decision that you've made for the next few years.
Yeah, yeah. It's and they have a decent bit of free agents as well. Uh, but luckily, like it's still not a lot of the main core guys, but there's definitely just an overall shift. Like Nick Chubb, he's a free agent, but he was the face of the franchise. But he obviously had the gruesome leg injury as well. But then he unfortunately that broke his foot. So like, what's his future going
Yeah.
to look like as well? The offensive line has been decimated as well, and there's a lot of guys that have played, such as like Jedrick Willis, James Hudson, Michael Dunn, who also has Nick Harris, all guys that have played at some point over the past couple of years, or even this year with some significant minutes. That maybe a lot of fans are like, we want these guys to go. Like, okay, perfect, that's great, but it's like you're still going to be so significantly under the cap. They're the second worst team in the cap as of right now, currently to over the cap, negative 21 million over, and then actually about with all the other seems like commitment and other things about it effective of like negative 33 million overall when it comes to cap space. So if there are some of these guys that they like Elijah Moore, or if they want to bring back Nick Chubb, or maybe even bring back Devontae Foreman, how are they going to go about doing that? But at the same time, though, too, also trying to figure out what they want to do with the quarterback position, because I think they need to bring in a free agent quarterback, like a veteran free agent quarterback, and we'll get to that here in a second. But quarterback is like got to be the number one priority as of right now, because with Deshaun Watson, as of this recording, it's the Monday night right after the season ends, and the reports of Deshaun Watson had a setback in his Achilles rehab as well, still putting even more further 2025 question on his availability. It makes it even more certain to me that it'd be like, nope, like we're like you're just going to be the emergency quarterback. You're just going to be on the team until we can cut you with a reasonable amount of dead money. That's what it seems
Yeah.
like to me.
Or trade for a seventh round pick and eat most of the cap. Like
Who would
he
trade
they're
a seventh round pick even for him? I don't even know who would trade a seventh
it,
round pick for him.
it, well, exactly. Like maybe they'll give Deshaun Watson a seventh round pick to somebody for him to get off the team. Like that to me, like that is just what is holding back this franchise. And I remember like our mom is a Browns fan, and I remember talking to like some of our uncles who live in Ohio and are also Browns fans, and they were so excited for this trade to have been made, and it has just totally backfired on them. And I really feel for Browns fans, because like you guys have been searching for the quarterback for so long, and then it ultimately like you find the guy that you think is going to be the savior in a trade, and then it's another disaster of a
Well,
pick, not just on the field, but now injury wise, he's tied up with an Achilles rehab for at least the next 4 or 5 months, and it'll probably
Yeah.
carry into the season.
Well, and especially too, then add on to that, go look at Baker Mayfield's career as of right now. Now he
Yeah,
did bounce around a little bit, yes, but like he found a pretty good spot in Tampa, and there were good
yeah.
things going on in
Helps
Cleveland.
when you're
So
thrown to a Hall of Fame wide receiver.
yeah, but I mean, he was playing well in Cleveland though.
No,
Like
no, no, I agree.
he was on
I
a
agree.
really good team as well. But I think I think he fit that Cleveland aura a lot more than Deshaun Watson. I don't think too many people want the Deshaun Watson aura
No.
that comes with whatever this is. But I think another thing then too as well, kind of looking at it, then there are some defensive free agents as well too, and that's going to be the area that like do they bring back some of these guys on just like 1 year deals as well, trying to figure out how to support Myles Garrett the best way they can, how to support Greg Newsome, how to support oh shoot, who's that other corner that they have?
Martin Emerson?
Martin, Denzel Ward, and so
I thought you said
yeah,
him first.
no, I said Greg Newsome, and so they are going
Oh,
to get guys back next year like Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, who did get hurt halfway through the season. That was a pretty big loss as well. So getting
yeah,
him back is going to be huge. But in general, though, to me, I think offensive players, I think are going to
yeah,
be somehow be the guys that are going to be their primary needs. Offensive line is going to be huge too, as well. But I think just offensive players. Yeah, I guess just
yeah,
offensive players in general. So it would
yeah,
be funny if they brought back Joe Flacco. I think Joe Flacco also wants to forget about the 2024 season. But that could be a route that they go. Other offensive players, we didn't include T. Higgins really just because I don't think they can afford him. But there are some other guys out there. I think that
Darius Slayton is one that's gonna be a more affordable big body receiver. Stephon Diggs is out there, may also fall into that category of cannot afford him, although he's coming off a torn ACL, so he might take, like, a one-year deal,
he's not
for
going.
10, 12.
He's not going to Cleveland. There's
No, no, no,
Stephon Diggs is not going to Cleveland.
no,
It's
I agree with that for the most part,
yeah,
but
yeah. If they can make it work, Hollywood Brown's going to be a free agent.
yeah,
And so he's only going to have a couple games, and so he might take less money as of right now. He was I think making about 7 million or something like that. So maybe he'll take a little bit less, but they're going to have to figure out how to get above the cap to then afford him. I think he'd be an interesting compliment to go alongside Jerry Judy as well. Matt Collins, I think, out of Buffalo, could be another big guy that, and he's just a veteran receiver who's kind of been around the block. So, but it really kind of all depends then to offensively on who they draft with their second overall pick, and most likely it's going to be a quarterback. It's going to be whoever's not selected first between Shador Sanders or Cam Ward.
yeah,
In
and
my opinion,
that is gonna be the big thing kinda coming into this draft is who do the Titans want, and then are the Browns do the Browns like the guy that the Titans don't want? Well, I don't say don't want, but that the Titans like less. And if they do like that guy, then great, you draft from there too. But if they find out like that the Titans are in love with Cam Ward and the Browns do not like Shedeur Sanders, then I think you start to talk about Ted McMillan at 2 overall. You could also do um,
you do
Will
Travis Hunter as
Campbell,
well in that
yeah, Travis
scenario.
Hunter,
Travis Hunter would
uh,
help out.
and I Travis Hunter, he in my opinion is primarily a corner. You have really good corners. I don't know. I'm curious Browns fans' thoughts on potentially snagging Travis Hunter, but all in all, like they have a lot of options here with the second overall pick and 2 quarterbacks projected to go at the top. They're in a pretty good position here that they could get a potential franchise quarterback of the future. Here in round 2, I noticed there's a couple running backs there, Caleb Johnson, Cam Scattaboo. Uh, I the Nick Chubb injury, he didn't look the same, and then he broke his foot again. So 2 season-ending injuries in back-to-back years, one of which the knee injury was very gruesome.
Yeah,
I have a feeling that is his NFL career is days are very much numbered at this point in time. And as sad as
oh
that is
yeah,
to say, that is just the nature of that running back position where you can be great and then all of a sudden you just don't quite have the same oomph that you did at one point in time. And so investing in that running back position, I think, is going to be crucial because Kevin Stefanski loves to run the football. Caleb Johnson out of Iowa has done a fantastic job in an outside zone style scheme. And definitely has the long speed to break runs. He's super physical at the point of attack. And so I think that's a really good one. And then Cam Scatterboo right now, the nation's favorite running back out of Arizona
Dude,
State. I think he
I
would.
think Cleveland would welcome him with open arms. I
Oh
think he
yeah,
would be fun to watch in Cleveland. And so actually kind of reminds me a little bit of Nick Chubb. Doesn't it a little bit?
yeah. I laugh. Like I saw a video and people were talking about how Cam Scatterboo isn't like the greatest pro running back prospect, and a lot of people compared him to the Peyton Hillis, which I think would be funny because that is a former Browns guy who's like the
Well,
1 year wonder.
hey, last time Cleveland had a white running back, he was on the cover of Madden. And then we
Yeah,
don't have to talk about the rest of his career after that.
yeah,
But
exactly.
so he had that one good year. He had that one really good year.
Yeah. And Cam Scatterboo at the NFL level, it's so hard to like bust off like 60-yard touchdown runs, but his biggest complaint is that he's just not like the most like he doesn't
He's
have
not the
great top
burner.
speed.
Yeah.
He's not a burner and he breaks tackles. He doesn't necessarily make people miss. And so people are worried about his shelf life. But honestly, the dude is a monstrous football player. I think you want his mentality in your locker room. And it, like to me, he's a really solid running back that brings a lot of leadership, especially to with a franchise too that needs some leadership, needs some alphas in the room. I think getting a Cam Scatterboo is going to would be a really solid like day 2 pick for the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah. And I mean this in no negative way to Camp Scatterboo, but I do just find it funny. Like we're talking about get some leadership in the room. So let's go draft an Arizona State player. Arizona State, like the biggest party school
W-
in the nation. But
Well,
I
yeah,
agree with you though. I'm just talking about the overall irony with everything going on with
but
Cleveland.
I,
I
I
I
just
I
like
I will say this though, like to kind of just get off Cam Scott, but more the running back position as a whole. They do have 5 picks in the top 103,
yeah
according to Tankathon as right now. So some of that, actually, no, those picks are set. Some of they have 11 picks total, and I say some of that
no
just depending
93
on
is
the
not
comp.
set.
No, oh, I guess it's not. It's not set officially as right, but they do have the Buffalo Bills third rounder for
Yeah,
Amari Cooper. So it's not officially 93, but it will be in that range.
yeah,
They have the Bills third rounder, but they have about 11 picks, maybe 12 if they get an additional comp. Uh, and so they can address running back position hard. They can address the offensive line position hard. Edge rush. This is a great edge rushing class as well. One thing too, actually, I think an area we even miss here with like draft targets is maybe even getting an edge rusher with that 33rd pick, the first pick of the second round. There's so many good defensive linemen in this class as well. If a guy falls like Shamar Stewart or maybe James Pierce Jr. falls or Michael Williams falls or something like that, like they could get him to start off the second round and really kind of get a running mate to go along Myles Garrett,
yeah,
or other offensive linemen as well. A lot of guys that could kick into guard and be very versatile for this offensive line. And so it's going to be interesting how the Browns attack this offseason as a whole. They need to somehow clear out enough cap space to bring in enough players. They'll probably do it with like restructuring contracts and they could make some trades. Going to have to make some tough decisions and cuts,
yeah,
just in general. But uh, it Browns going to have a very unique offseason. Unfortunately, though, it's a very familiar spot for Browns fans. So
yeah,
a lot of
yeah,
I guess they'll be talked about a lot, which is good, but not in the good way.
yeah. And that's like I really feel for Browns fans because this Deshaun Watson thing is just totally blown up in their face. This was also a move that a lot of Browns fans I think were skeptical of them making based off of Deshaun Watson's off the field issues as a whole.
Well, and not just the off the field issues, but then he didn't play for like a year and a half.
Yeah,
It to me, it's just like, what do you expect? Like
yeah,
uh, it's you don't do anything for a certain like a long amount of time. You're just rusty. Like
yeah,
we haven't even like, and that I think is just we all had the image of what Deshaun Watson was like in that 2020 year. And to be fair,
yeah.
if they would have made that trade at the end of the 2020 season, nobody would blame them whatsoever.
Oh no,
But then
it
it
was
was
just
a year and a half with a huge scandal, like how that has affected him
yeah,
mentally. It clearly has affected him a lot. And then now he's going to be coming off an Achilles injury. Like
yeah,
it's very possible he's played his last down in the NFL because at the end of the day, then who's going to want him on their team?
yeah. And that's uh I was listening to a podcast and they were talking about historically how guys who have to miss their sporting event for off the field issues, like guys that have off the field scandals that holds them out of playing, it usually their performance when they come back is it never ever returns to the level that they were at before the scandal. And I don't know if it's a mental thing or like they just like
100% a mental thing. Yeah.
like well like they just lose some of that muscle memory that made them that elite prospect. But uh it's tough to watch. And like right now Browns fans are the ones paying the price for that. So
Yeah.
I feel for them. Hopefully this front office and coaching staff can get things righted in the 2025 offseason, so you guys have a much better 2025 than you did 2024. But I think that's going to wrap up this video here. If you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below on what you thought of the Browns 2024 season and what you want to see them do going into 2025. And other than that, we'll see you guys next time.